and lumbar motion. So when we are looking at torso motion, we're really looking at all of thoracic through pelvic motion. But when we are looking at lumbar motion, we're trying to isolate just L1 through L5, okay? So those are going to be different. We're going to use a tape measure method for a lot of the lumbar motions, which are super easy and super fun. I don't know about that part. Now, the quality of the motion is going to be as much or more important than the quantity of motion. And so you're always going to want to watch the motion first. So John, I'm going to have you face away from me. Do you mind if I just pull your shirt up a little bit? Sure. Okay. So for the first one we're going to measure is lumbar flexion. So for me, I always want to find my landmarks so that I have something to look at. And then John, what I'd like you to do is bend forward as far as you comfortably can without causing pain, and keep your knees straight. Just see if you can touch the floor. Breathe out, John. And come on back. Breathe, John. Breathe. What are your landmarks? So I'm looking at I have his iliac crest and I'm looking at his PSISs, just as a measure of his pelvis, so that I have a landmark to look at his spine. Now, Joe was behind me. He did not move symmetrically. He had a very interesting movement pattern with sound effects, right? So these are things that would be really important to me, and I would do his trunk range of motion testing probably before I would do palpation, because the quality of his movement is going to tell me a lot about where he's stuck, okay? Now, so that I'm just looking for the quality of motion there. But for the measurement, I need to come around, and I'm going to have you go ahead and do it again. You can do sound effects, I don't care. Okay, so then you're just going to measure fingertip to floor with a tape measure. Okay, and the norm is 0. Come on back up. And you want to make sure that the tape is perpendicular. Several of you who were doing muscle length tests for the shoulder in case 1 didn't have your tape perpendicular, so you want to make sure that that tape is really, truly straight. So that's fingertip to floor, okay? It's easy peasy, right? For lateral flexion, what we're gonna do is look for quality of motion again. And what you wanna do, here if you wanna use the norms, you need to measure his it's his middle finger to the floor. You need to have what it is standing and then measure how far he goes and document the difference. We have norms for that. Honestly, a lot of people will just document his fingertip to floor without doing the subtraction, okay? But then you can't use the norms because you're just looking for asymmetry. So for this one, again, sorry, John, roll your shirt back up. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. What I'd like you to do is I'm going to have you slide this hand down your leg and then just let it dangle. But I want you to pretend that you're leaning up against a wall, so I don't want you to bend forward or bend back. Just move to the side. So just like that. There you go. And I'm looking at his movement. He is a straight line here and a straight line here. So he doesn't have a nice C curve. He has a hinge. Okay, and come on back up. Now to measure that, so to me, that would be interesting that he has a hinge there, and I would actually take a pen and mark it. So that then I would know when I did my palpation, I would want to go right to that segment. Okay? Now, and that's going to mean more to my subsequent exam than whatever this number is. Okay? But insurance companies want this number. So I'm going to have you go ahead and bend over to the side again. Now this time I need you to let your hand just dangle straight. So you don't want to have it to the side, you want it straight down. And then again, I would take this measurement with a tape.
Would you take the difference for the norm?
To use the norm, you would take a difference. So you would measure it with him standing. Now, a compensation for lateral flexion is for the heel to come up. So you'll have someone lean and their heel will come up. Just for kicks and giggles, I'd like you to go to the right for me. Okay. So he has a smoother curve that way, but he has a pretty hard end. Like he's not, like he gets some, so it's kind of fun. All right, so that is flexion, fingertip to floor, that is lateral flexion with a tape measure. Now, we also can measure flexion and extension of the torso by marking C7 and a line between the PSISs and having a tape measure there and then having him either flex or extend and taking that measurement. That would be torso flexion and torso extension. Okay? If we wanted to only measure lumbar flexion and extension, we would find his PSISs, make a mark, measure 15 centimeters up, and make a mark. Okay? So we know that if him in standing, that distance should be 15 centimeters. This one I should probably show. Do you mind if I mark on you?
Sure.
Thank you. Christine, it looked like you had a tape measure. Emily, thank you. All right. So we're gonna roll up your shirt again. Is that okay? We're good. I've got it. I had it. I was confident. John, your shirt was rebelling. Is that okay? Okay. All right. So I'm on his PSISs. Of course, I already grabbed the phone, it doesn't work.
I think we pushed it.
50-50.
Oh, sorry, Maddie, I didn't mean to drag it.
Thank you.
Ooh. Chip a tooth on it. Try an ice marker. How about the blue one?
Oh, there's only a green.
No, we were using the blue.
Oh.
Thank you.
Third time's the charm.
So then I'm going to hold the tape measure up and mark 15, which is there. But did you notice that I did not keep the tape close to his skin? I just measured 15 up. That's why I decided I better show.
Only mark 15.
Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is hold the tape to the top measure. Okay, so it should be 15, right, if I measured well. And I'm gonna have you go ahead and go forward for me again. So go ahead and go forward. And now I'm at 21.4. You can go ahead and come back up. So the difference there would be 6.4. So his lumbar flexion would be 6.4 centimeters. Okay, now I'm gonna have you put your hands on your hips for me, please. Now I can do that measurement that we talked about from C7 to PSIS and get torso extension, or I can also get just lumbar extension from this 15 centimeters above. Okay, so I want to watch you move first. So go ahead and arch your back as far as you can, and I'm here. So go ahead and come back all the way if you can. Nice job, and come on back up. Okay, now this time I'm going to take a measurement. So go ahead and come on back for me. Okay, good. And come on back up. I got 11.2. So now that would be 3.8 centimeters because I'm subtracting the other way. Okay? This way is called the modified Schober. It's really the modified Schober, but nobody calls it that. But we call it in this class just lumbar flexion and extension. Okay? Now, the only one that's a little goofy is lateral rotation. I'm going to have you, John, sit somewhere. Yeah, probably we'll have to do that. So I'm actually gonna have you sit at the end of the table because everyone is this way. Are you good there? So For rotation, what we're going to do is go from the lateral acromion, so a landmark that we've had before, to the greater trochanter on the opposite side. Okay, so the greater trochanter is going to be right here on the femur, and the way that you can find that is by having the person internally and externally rotating their legs, and it'll pop out at you. There aren't muscles that cover it. Muscles attach proximally and they attach distally, but not over it, so it's the most prominent bone in the femur. So I'm gonna come in, and can you just swing your leg in and out for me? There you go, keep going. There you go, good. So John, what I'm gonna have you do is sit up nice and straight for me and cross your arms in front of your body. Good. And I'm getting 75.8. Now what I want you to do is turn towards me with your body, okay? So go ahead and rotate. Hi. Okay, and turn back around. So now I get 87.5, and I would do that difference. Okay? Okay? And did you notice that I kept my hands on the whole time that he did that? And what I'm not doing is I'm not having the tape get smaller. I'm not having him turn away. I'm having him turn so that the tape gets larger. Okay? That's the only one you probably, well, oh, it's the end of class. All right. Aw. Okay, so we'll have time for you guys to practice.